everyone, saradietschy rhymes with Peachy here. Today we have the new Panasonic Lumix S5 in the office. We're going to do a little bit of an unboxing, first impressions, but this is a little bit more of a hello, chat with you, yes, but more of a discussion about full frame cameras. Because if you're not familiar with this line of cameras, Panasonic has the S1, the S1H, and the S1R. So the naming is kind of similar if you're familiar with the Sony A7 line. So the S1R is primarily for photos, a higher megapixel count, just like the A7R. And then you have the S1H coming in for video, high frame rate, high resolution. And then the S1 kind of sits as the hybrid in between. That would be equivalent to the A7 III. So enter the Lumix S5. Okay, I might as well unbox this while we get going and talking about full frame cameras, because it's exciting times when a camera company like Panasonic, who is used to making the micro four thirds cameras, we all love our GH5s, and I know some of you guys are like, hey, where's the GH6? Where is it? And I actually recently made a video about dropping the GH5s because, hey, Sony is finally waking up with no record limits. I switched the GH5s out for the A6600s for my podcast. And Sony is really stepping it up, and I'm very excited to have the A7S III in my hands. Okay, this is a Panasonic video, Sarah. There's just a lot to compare and look at right now because so many camera companies are coming out with so many cameras. Oh yeah, giving up the GH5s because I'm kind of done with micro four thirds now that people are really innovating in the full frame space. I love full frame cameras, just the look. People say it's the look. When I went from the Canon 70D to the 5D, I was like, I'm not going back. So enter in this new Lumix S5. Here we go, the reveal. This is the new camera. Ah. Okay, it's still a solid size though. When we started hearing rumors about this, people are saying, oh, this is an entry-level full frame. If you look at the prices on the S1, S1H, S1R, those are just beast of a camera, and there's a comparable price tag attached to that. And so this is meant to be more affordable. Now, we don't have an official price. Maybe I'll talk about this at the end of the video. It definitely has a slimmer profile compared to the S1H because, you know, I guess it doesn't have to worry about the overheating as much, but it's still, I mean, it's still a solid size camera. Whenever I think entry-level full frame, I think, hey, let's make this camera smaller and a more affordable price, right? Thank goodness it has a flip screen, full tilt. We like that. The GH4, GH5 has always had that, so that is great to see. It's kind of a bummer that the S1H didn't have it. And the reason why the S5 is a little interesting to me is not only has this series of camera kind of matured, yes, we're seeing more L-mount lenses. If you're not aware of the L-mount, it's what Leica uses for the SL2, their digital cameras, but also Panasonic and the S1H and the S1. And so there is a LMount Alliance, or they call it LMount Alliance. Sounds so, I don't know, sounds like they're like the Avengers or something and forming like an Avengers alliance. The LMount Alliance is in between Sigma, Leica, and Panasonic to collaborate and partner together to just make a whole line of lenses. So they've ramped that production up pretty quick, but for me it's all about the company that has the most history when it comes to mirrorless glass. I'm just a big fan of Sony because the Sony E-mount has just been around for so long. You can get some really nice glass used because it's just been around for forever. Of course, you have the EF lenses that you can just adapt to the new Canon mirrorless cameras, but this L-mount, it's getting there. It's getting there. I'm excited to test this out because this isn't just an unboxing. I want to see how this stuff looks. But this is going to be the kit lens that comes with it. So it's the 20-60 f3.5 to 5.6. 20-60 full frame. Hello. All right, let's do this. Let's see what it looks like. Nice. Nice, nice. Cool. This size, and we'll compare it to maybe a Sony A7 III body in a minute, it's pretty big. I mean, not big, it's mirrorless, and it's smaller than the S1H. That's the only one I've actually had my hands on, but it's a decent size. Okay, so here it is compared to the Sony A7S II with the 16-35 f4, just so you can kind of get an idea. I mean, it's a big boy. Okay, just really quick, let's see if anything else comes in the box. We have a USB-C cable with a power brick as well as an actual battery charger. This is good, and then the battery, okay. Okay, so we have a mic and a headphone jack as well as a USB-C and a mini HDMI. We have dual SD card slots, which is great to see. This is something that I always enjoyed when I tested out the S1H, is just the dials are so tactile and beefy and big. Very satisfying. ASMR. Flip screen, full frame, Panasonic. Hello. So I'm at Pier 26 right now. So that's One World Trade up here, down in downtown Manhattan. And I had no idea there's a putt-putt course here. That's what it's called, putt-putt? Mini golf. And also, people are playing sand volleyball. So there's 2 sand volleyball courts out here. And there's a ton of people running. People are so active. I commend you, people. I don't remember the last time I worked out, but New York is alive and well. Okay, so let's run through the top level specs, then we'll actually go outside and test it out, because honestly, I feel like the elephant in the room with Panasonic is autofocus. That is honestly the big reason why the GH5 wasn't the perfect camera for me, and I just used it for a podcast after using it in several videos, is the autofocus was just so bad. Now in this we still are using a contrast autofocus. We'll test out the different modes, but just compared to the work that Sony and Canon have both done in their cameras, Panasonic definitely has an uphill battle with autofocus. And again, the big deal about this S series is Panasonic's big move into full frame. So this is a full frame 24 megapixel sensor, and it seems like a theme of 2020 is we're getting 4K 10-bit 422 internal recording in all of these new cameras, which is just, I will not take it for granted. I love it. I love to see it. You have MOV and MP4 recording modes. Isn't as big as the S1H. That's the camera you go for killer video capabilities. So this will be able to record 4K 24 frames per second and 30 frames per second in that 10-bit 422, 1080 60 frames per second. And then if you want to go into APS-C mode, so again, it's going to crop into the sensor, so you're not using the full frame sensor. That's when you can get 4K at 60 frames per second, which is, I mean, cool. Awesome, great. So this has the slow and quick mode. If you're familiar with that from the GH5, you can record up to 180 frames per second in 1080, but you won't have audio attached to it. You have an OLED live viewfinder, again, that contrast AF, a dual native ISO of 100 and 640, and when shooting RAW plus JPEG, you have 7 frames per second burst when shooting in AFS, and then in AFC mode, you have 5 frames per second. Another feature worth mentioning is no record limit. So they actually estimate that in MP4 mode at 4K 60 frames per second, you can shoot up to 55 minutes, and in MOV mode, you can shoot 4K 60 for around 50 minutes. So, I mean, that's awesome. The fact that all of these companies are saying, hey, yeah, we're not going to worry about that record limit. We're not going to worry about limiting you, and we no longer have that restriction is just great. And it makes me just question Canon even more about these stupid things that they just keep in their cameras to protect their cinema line. Like, why does the R5 and the R6 still have a record limit? Why? Why, Canon? Gotta calm down. Okay. Honestly, it's sad. Canon is like the only company I haven't covered in a while, and it's what I started on, but it's because my needs just haven't matched up with a lot of cameras they've been releasing, but there are some amazing things that they're doing. I mean, their dual pixel autofocus is just amazing. It seems like all of these camera companies are now doing the same exact thing, which I think is a good thing, because you have options now. If you're mainly photo, if you're mainly video, if you need a hybrid, now Panasonic has what you're looking for. Sony has what you're looking for. Canon, they're getting there. They're so quirky. Canon, stop being quirky with the overheating. But at the end of the day, like, they have a wide plethora of cameras to choose from, and they're building into their mirrorless cameras even more. Who else am I forgetting? Fuji is like cool and quirky. They're a good company that's like the one-off camera company. If you just want a cool looking camera that has a dope image. So if you're wanting to get into a professional video workflow, you're probably not going to invest in the Fuji line. So those are the three: Sony, Canon, Panasonic. Am I missing anyone?
Nikon.
Oh, Nikon. Oh, that's awkward. Cause yeah, I mean, I would compare this to like the Z5, right? So they have the Z6 and the Z5. I'm sorry, Nikon. Do you see yourself sticking with only one camera company? Because the way I used to do things is, you know, I'd have the GH5 for this because my Sony's had a record limit that wasn't good for long form video. I had my Blackmagic Pocket Cinema camera for more of the professional corporate work. Oh, cinema-like features, just the look of it. The look of it is so nice. And then I had my Sony for all of my social, YouTube, hybrid things where I needed a good video image and a good photo image. And with the GH5, I enjoyed how there was a flip out screen and etc. Now, Sony has addressed all of my gripes where there's a flip out screen, the A7S, the A7S III. There's no record limits. There's 4K, 10-bit, 422, which the GH5 did. And it seems like all these camera companies are now giving us everything that we want. Saying that, I see myself sticking in kind of more of my Sony ecosystem for the next 5 years and not really leaving that much. So do you see yourself only sticking to one system? No longer, I feel like, are we being, okay, this camera is good for this camera is good for that. Now I feel like more than ever, it's the lenses that are the most important because, hey, now in this cool camera ecosystem, we have full frame options from everyone. And we have these specs that are all great. They're really good for the price tag, I feel like. And I think people are gonna stay in their corner. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. The new Panasonic Lumix S5. Check out the B&H link that I have in the description below. Yeah, until next time, stay peachy. Okay, bye-bye.